Happy Halloween. For those of you who aren't familiar with Halloween, it's a holiday observed on October the 31st by many cultures across the world that is celebrated through wearing costumes, telling scary stories, and eating candy. It's also the day this video is supposed to be uploaded, but that didn't happen because I am guilty of sloth, one of the 7 deadly sins, which I have no doubt I will face indescribable anguish for in the afterlife. Now, Hausu is a spooky, pixel art, haunted house game from 2020 made by Bark Games, which is a 2-man indie studio made up by Chris Ratz and Isaac Knight, which I'm guessing are pseudonyms, but I'm really hoping aren't. Now, I know absolutely nothing about Hausu when one of my friends first told me about it. My first impression when I saw it was that I wasn't crazy about the title. It seemed slightly generic to me in terms of giving your game an easily distinguishable name. One thing I found weird also is that when I see the name House in a horror setting, all I can think of is the 1977 Japanese horror film House, or Hausu. For those who haven't seen it, Hausu is a haunted house movie that is goofy, scary, bizarre, funny, grotesque, but also deeply melancholic and poignant. On the surface, the film is about 7 teenage girls who visit a haunted mansion belonging to one of their aunts over summer vacation and are picked off one by one by the dark forces of the house. But it's about so much more, with a convincing take on the movie being a representation of the clash between 2 generations of Japanese citizens, the older generation that lived through World War II and are haunted by the loss and guilt of war and the horror of the atomic bomb, and the idealistic, carefree generation that grew up in the 70s, untouched by the trauma of war. To me, it's without a doubt the most unique haunted house movie out there and one of my personal favorite movies of all time. It's a masterpiece in my opinion, a near-perfect movie. Choosing to share a title with a film like that seemed like a bit of an odd choice, like naming your game Suspiria or The Thing, while not having the game be based on either film. This is foreshadowing. I don't actually think this at all. Anyways, name aside, there's something very special about experiencing any piece of art, be it a movie, book, or video game, with no knowledge about what it might be, so let's just go straight in. You start the game with absolutely no introductions, no cutscenes, not even a menu. You play as a young girl named Tabby and start each game by waking up in her bedroom, which reminds me a lot of the bedroom from Yume Nikki, which I guess is one of House's inspiration. One thing I noticed right away is that as you walk up to the wall of your room, part of your character's sprite literally enters the void of negative space that exists outside the bedroom. I don't know, maybe I don't play enough games like this and this is actually a pretty common thing, but it seemed like a subtle eerie touch that made me realize this would not be an ordinary game. I also noticed the music right away, which I thought was really incredible. There's actually multiple tracks that play in different areas and in different circumstances, but they all flow so well into each other I assumed it was just one continuous track that looped through the entire playthrough. It has a very distinctive sound that fits the game perfectly. It's bright and has an innocent, childish vibe, but with something sinister or secretive just under the surface, like some kind of eerie lullaby. Now once I woke up and left my room, the very first thing I did in House was enter the bathroom, flush the toilet too many times, and get eaten by the scary naked toilet lady. Now, I'm a pro gamer, so I was able to learn from my mistakes. Now my monkey brain knows that going into the bathroom means getting eaten by a scary naked toilet lady. Being the gamer I am, my very next decision when I respawned was to follow my natural instincts and drop a bowling ball on the family cat, crushing the poor feline into a splatter of pink and red pixels but revealing a key. Using the key, I entered a basement room and was quickly eaten by a giant rat. I spent a few more lives wandering around the house and being eaten or killed in a number of horrendous ways, and at this point I thought I understood the game. I thought it was just a game that threw creepy stuff at you, maybe even at random, and the whole goal was to survive for as long as possible. But then I noticed that the characters seemed to be on a set path of sorts. Not long after you wake up, your mom nails shut a door and then goes to drink wine in the kitchen. Your sister wakes up and then goes to play piano before the piano falls on her and crushes her eventually. And then when I finally stayed alive as long as I could, the dad character comes home and stabs me. I knew something was up. This is not what dads usually do when they come home after a long day of work. When my dad gets home, he usually just starts contemplating his orb for the next couple of hours. As you die in certain ways, the diary entries fill out, which gives a bit more explanation of the game's story. Some of this is what you already know, namely that there's something deeply wrong with the house. When you ask your mom why she's nailing up the door at the start of the cycle, she says that the room stinks and tells you not to worry about it anymore. Now, this is usually what I tell people when they want to enter my room, so I understood where she was coming from, but it still seemed kind of fishy. She then makes you and your sister lunch, and if you set down a bucket to plug up the leak in the kitchen so she doesn't slip and die, she drinks so much wine that she enters a drunken stupor. If you're from the Midwest like me, this is pretty typical behavior for a mom. At a certain point in the day, you'll notice the figure of a woman standing by the window in the kitchen. When you approach her, she'll stretch her neck inside and begin talking to you. The first time she did this, I got freaked out and chopped her head off right away with the axe, but believe it or not, she's actually friendly. The long-necked woman is your neighbor. She tells you there's a curse in the house and that it's up to you to somehow break it. When you talk to your sister Melody, she tells you she hates everything, including the walls, mornings, and whatever object you're carrying. Cryptically, she also says she hates what she saw, what he did, and this memory. She then goes to play piano and the song sounds weirdly familiar. I just can't put my finger on it though. Wait a second. remember that movie I mentioned at the beginning of the video? The song melody plays is the exact same piano theme that plays throughout Hausu. It's the musical heartbeat of the film. Hausu also has a character named Melody, just like your sister, and both characters named Melody die while playing piano. Both also feature a prominent cat character, a long-haired ghost in the bathroom, and a ghost character emerging from a fridge. These are only some of the similarities between the movie and the game. Even more than that, the game and movie both share the same wacky and whimsical, but deeply unsettling visual design, especially when it comes to the monsters. Even the Japanese folklore they explored in Hausu has counterparts in the game. Your neighbor resembles a yokai from Japanese folklore called a Rakuro Kubi, an otherwise normal-looking person with a neck that can stretch to grotesque lengths. The toilet monster also seems inspired by a Japanese urban legend about the ghost of a young girl named Hanako-san, who can emerge from a toilet and attack those who summon her. Now, I've read nothing about this game really, so maybe a lot of people have noticed the similarities and I'm just a big old dummy, but I still think it's super important to note. The similarities between the two are so strong that I have no option other than to believe that House the game is at least in part an affectionate love letter to House the film, and I really commend them for this. The execution is subtle and inconspicuous mostly, but I think people who haven't watched the film can still really enjoy the game, rather than if they tried to make it an adaptation or even a sequel to the movie. Instead, I would think of it as an unofficial spiritual successor, inspired by the design, sensibilities, and vibe of the original IP with a new setting, plot, and new characters. To me, it seems like such a fantastic way to make your own piece of art while also honoring the legacy of a different piece of art through a completely different medium. As I said, Hausu is a masterpiece, and I'm glad it's able to exist on its own. That said, if there ever was an official game adaptation of the film for whatever reason, I could honestly see it being a lot like this, which I mean is a huge compliment and a testament to the success of the devs. I want to pause talking about the story for just a moment to talk about the other elements of the game, namely sound, graphics, and art design. As I said before, the music is really, really good. There's no voice acting, obviously, that would feel really out of place in a game like this. The sound effects when you kill or are killed are appropriately gross and squishy sounding. I also do really love the sound of Tabby's footsteps. There's like a jaunty skipping pace to them, which is hilariously happy-go-lucky sounding in comparison to how horrific the game itself is. On that note, the game has so many different death animations that are all just wonderfully grotesque and nightmarish. I can hardly pick a favorite though. I do particularly love the one where your mom's reanimated corpse throws you on the kitchen table and chops your head off. I also love the pixel art style and retro, ultra-minimalistic interface of the game. Not only does the pixel art give House a nostalgic vibe, which it subverts with the horrible things that happen as you continue to play, but I feel like it really enhances the monster design as well. A lot of the creatures have this tall, loping, gangly look to them, and I think the pixel art style complements them beautifully. It's an example of a limitation or restriction actually being much more of a strength than weakness. Because we can't fully make out their features and what they would actually look like, our imagination tries to fill in the gaps, which makes them more horrifying in my opinion. There are also a ton of little small design choices I really loved. As you go on, the pictures hanging up on the living room get turned around eerily. Occasionally you'll see this creepy floating ghost silhouette with a vaguely bird-like face floating around that looks like one of the shadow characters from Yume Nikki. I also love how the picture frames in the main hallway reacted to your decisions in the game. Your portrait flips over if you start killing your family, and your dad's disappears from his at some point once the haunting starts. If you kill your mom, her picture takes on this freakish, monstrous look, and if you kill your sister, her eyes will disappear from her portrait. Also, if you kill your cat, his severed head will appear atop a dresser, which is both gruesome and oddly comedic. These small design choices are evident of how much love the developers put into this game. I think the game also has a fantastic atmosphere. Like when you start a cycle, there's such a peaceful domestic vibe to the house that reminded me of just bumbling around the house as a kid on rainy Saturday mornings. And that cozy atmosphere slowly gets twisted and threatened by the curse of the house and the monsters it unleashes, which contributes perfectly to what I see as the central theme of House, which we'll get back to later. Back to the story. So as you see your family die over and over, occasionally by your own hand, and see yourself die, you start to realize there are ways to use the various items you get to help them avoid their fates. It's like a reverse Home Alone where you're engineering gadgets to save people instead of inflict exaggerated cartoon violence on them. Or maybe that's what you're trying to do, who am I to say? As you can probably guess, this method, saving your family, is one of the ways to beat the game. As you die over and over, you'll meet a talking snail named Marty in the piano room. He gives you the option to put him on your head, which makes your stamina bar way higher. It also puts a snail in the head of your portrait. I guess this is the game's way of providing easy mode by making escaping monsters like the rat more forgiving. He provides interesting dialogue too and will comment on events that happened in your previous life. For example, he scolds you for killing the Rakura Kubi neighbor and refuses to get on your head until the next life. There's another hidden character to the game too, one central to the plot. Once you cut down the barricade to your parents' room and smash open the hidden door, you find a decaying corpse holding a slingshot under the room. This explains why your mom said the room stinks, but why was she trying to cover up the corpse? If you ask Melody about the slingshot, she says it belonged to Toby and that she'll never forgive what father did to him. If you ask the snail, he'll say that he's not impressed with Toby and that Melody could do much better than him because he's dead, which seems kind of mean. From this, we get a much better impression of what's going on. The corpse under the floorboards is your sister's friend Toby. Your father, who's seemingly acting under the spell of whatever curse is plaguing the house, killed Toby and your mom covered the murder up. This gives a lot more context to Melody's depression and her statements of "I hate what he did" and "I hate what I saw." The diary entry on Toby confirms this too. Even before the game started, the house already has a victim. Melody's gloomy demeanor and your mom's desire to drink her senses away take on a much more tragic quality. Now, here's where I jump ship and play the game if you don't want to hear the heavy spoilers we're about to go into. If you want to skip them, go to the time you see on the screen. Now, there's several ways to escape the cycle of death and rebirth and finish the game. Each of these requires a lot of trial and error to figure out exactly what to do and are very easy to mess up. I lost more near-perfect runs to the carpet with spikes than I'd like to remember. At the same time, though, it never felt overly frustrating, as once you die, you can instantly start again, and none of the cycles are overly long. It kind of reminded me of other games with a time loop where things happen at set times. There's a certain fun, repetitive feeling to raising yourself in terms of how fast you can cross things off your list. This feeling kept House from feeling overly frustrating, but it definitely requires some patience to get every ending, which is not only possible, but also encouraged on just one playthrough. The first ending is the simplest, and I'm sure will come naturally to many of my viewers. Simply kill your entire family.
Monster kill. Rampage. Killing spree.
Drop the bowling ball on the cat, disembowel your mom with an axe, chop the neighbor's head off, throw some water on Melody. I feel guilty for that, honestly. I feel like I kind of abused your trust. I'm sorry, let's just keep going and see if we can come back from this. Anyways, kill everyone, including the doll and the giant rat. The toilet lady even becomes a friendly NPC and will update you on the progress of your family annihilation. Avoid the ghosts of your vengeful family members, and if you're able to successfully kill them all and stay alive, when your father comes home, instead of stabbing you, he embraces you. We get a bit of text that seems to suggest that now that we've both become murderers and monsters, the unwitting agents of the house's curse, the darkness of the house engulfs us. However, after the credits, the doll appears and chides us for thinking it would be that easy to escape the cycle of the curse. She tells us that no matter what we do, it will never end, and we go straight back to the intro screen. Fine, let's try another ending. This time do basically whatever you want, but make sure to grab the shotgun from your parents' closet and the ammunition from the spare room in the piano room. Just wait until your father comes home and avoid any spirits or ghosts that might come for you. When he does get home, kill him with the bear trap and shotgun. The game ends as you fall to your knees in exhaustion and despair, and the text tells us that, though we've kept some of the darkness at bay, the curse still seems to be alive somewhere in the house. However, again, the doll appears and taunts us, telling us we're wasting our time. Fine, we'll try another one. This time, keep your family alive as well as you can. Make sure you destroy Melody's piano with a slingshot before she can enter the room. She'll break out in tears and run to the bathroom. However, if she gets there, she'll be eaten by the toilet lady, so make sure to destroy the toilet. Also, make sure you destroy the stool in her room, otherwise she'll hang herself on it. With nothing else to do, Melody lies down in bed. At this point, bring her the old doll from your room and she'll thank you. She'll lie there for a while before going to the main room and playing a short tune on the flute, a tune that your father apparently used to hum to you to before putting you to bed. At this point, your father will come home, but Melody's song will break the spell over him, making him fall to his knees in grief and guilt. The text tells you that we have seemingly lifted the curse, but still the doll returns to yell at us. We still haven't found the true ending yet, if it exists. Anyways, there's one more thing we can try. This time, everybody lives. Save your entire family before the clock runs out. Spill milk in front of the cat, bust your ass slipping on it to wake him up, grab the key, unlock the spare room and grab the bucket, put the bucket in the kitchen to catch the leak, thus saving your mom's life. Grab the axe and avoid the rat, open your parents' bedroom, grab the shotgun and slingshot, break the chandelier, and crush the piano before Melody gets in. Break the toilet, break the stool, put the doll on her bed so she can't lay down, grab a turkey sandwich, feed it to the rat to make it friendly. Oh, see? He was just a little hungry. He just wanted a little turkey sandwich. Grab the 2 shotgun shells in the bear trap, extinguish the cat with the water bucket, return to the kitchen, and when the monster's arm comes out of the fridge to grab your mom, attack it with the axe. A giant naked female monster comes out of the fridge and chases you. Just pretend it's a job application and avoid it for as long as you can. Use the shotgun and bear trap to slow it down until the clock strikes and its head explodes. Finally, we've ended the curse and successfully kept your entire family alive. We're shown a sweet scene of the entire family enjoying a meal together, including the giant rat eating out of a dog food bowl, which is a nice touch. We're told the house is now still and at peace, and the family can now return to the way things were. It's a very nice ending, and it feels rewarding for keeping your entire family alive, though it seems a little too good to be true. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. The doll's back again to admonish you, telling you to give up and accept that the curse can't be broken. She even questions if the snail really cares about you, which feels like a low blow. Our friendship is basically all I have going for me at the moment. It never ends, she says. Well, I guess that's it. Maybe there is no way to break the curse. Better go back to murdering my family. But wait, what are those odd marks on the clock? If you smash the clock after completing all 4 previous endings, you're seemingly able to enter another plane of existence. Everything is black and white, and time seems to be standing still. Now there are these dried up mummy enemies spread through the house who will chase you down and kill you if they see you. As you go in certain rooms, you'll have boss fight-like encounters with the disembodied mouth, eyes, and fingers of the house, in another obvious but loving nod to Hausu, in which something very similar happens. You find Toby's spirit alive in the basement and are able to talk to him, confirming that we've entered some sort of realm of the dead, where the demon or spirit plaguing the house finds physical form. Honestly, I really like this as an idea, and it seemed like the natural step to take in this game, but the way they choose to make everything grayscale for this doesn't really sit right with me. I love how they emphasize bright, vivid colors for most of the game, and Hausu does the same thing. Getting rid of that unique visual look seemed like an odd decision. I wondered if it would be cool if they made the colors way brighter and more saturated, or made everything super colorful in a hellish, hallucinatory sort of way. Anyways, fighting the house's body parts are fun little minigames. Puncture its eyes, smash its teeth, and chop off its fingers before firing the shotgun straight into its heart. You jump down the pit and find yourself in a black void with what seems to be your physical body laying unconscious on the ground. As you stagger through the blackness, you come across a puppet master character, holding puppets of your father and sister, suggesting he's been the ones manipulating them the whole time. He beckons you forward and grabs you, saying, "You need me." We're able to escape his clutches, though we lose our arm in the process and slice him in half with the axe. Now that we've finally ended the curse, I think we can... Oh, fuck, dude! Not this again! Oh, wait a second. The doll starts to panic as she realizes that we've realized that we've really broken the curse and that she was lying. Off screen, we give her the teleport behind you, nothing personnel kid treatment. Now that the doll has been dealt with, we're greeted with a scene of us sitting outside on our own. We finally escaped the house, but the crutch leaning against the bench shows that what happened in our final confrontation with the puppet master happened in the physical world as well. The scene is peaceful and melancholic as we sit gazing at the house, our house, from the distance. The curse seems to be vanquished, but our family is nowhere to be seen. There's something deeply bittersweet about the ending. Indeed, we have no proof that our family made it out, but it's still somewhat freeing and cathartic. It might not be the happiest ending, but it's the only ending that could save us, disfigured and traumatized by the curse, but still alive. Now, I think this is probably the best time to talk about what I see as the theme of the game. If you see House as at least in part an exploration of something like domestic abuse or family trauma or grief, which I believe there's plenty of evidence to suggest it is, this ending is especially poignant. The curse could be an allusion to something much more grounded and common, but no less dangerous and inescapable for some people. Because the fact is, sometimes we can't save everyone. Not even the ones we love most. We can't always rescue our family and loved ones when they're trapped in cycles of violence or suffering beyond their control, and sometimes of their own choosing. Cycles that they've lost the will or strength to escape. And that can be heartbreaking when we have no choice but to leave them behind. But when we're powerless and trapped, the only decision we can actually make is the decision to save ourselves. And sometimes that's the only ending you'll get. And sometimes an ending is an ending, whether it's happy or not. Oh, and we can save the snail too. There is a DLC where you get to play as Melody that looks really cool, but I'm not including it in this video. I didn't have enough time to play it and put it in. I'm sorry. I definitely would consider doing a future video on it, but it's honestly a miracle this video came out at all, even without the DLC. I didn't expect too much out of House, which was completely my mistake. I can honestly say that I've played very few games like it, in terms of the actual gameplay loop itself, but also its story, design, atmosphere, and themes. It toed the line perfectly between scary and funny, sad and silly, simple and complex. Also, it gave me another excuse to rewatch Hausu, so I'll always appreciate that. I couldn't think of a better game to play on a dark fall night as the evening stretched out and the air grows colder. If I was one of the developers, I would think of this game as a huge success, and judging by the amount of great fan art surrounding the game, people really loved it. I'm eagerly awaiting whatever comes next for Bark Bark Games, and I see this game's legacy living on for a very long time. I give it a very, very good score. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for your time, dear viewer. I wish you all the good fortune in the world. I remain your faithful snuggler.